Pre-show cheers. Cheers to you. Cheers to you. A little bit of monkey shoulder out of Ennis decanter right there.
Thank you, Ennis.
Gotta love it. Gotta love
Ennis
it.
decanter freedom.
Hello, Internets. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the show.
Let's recap the Utah Jazz and what's happened this week.
Touching base again on the update with Damian Lillard.
Some cool stuff happened in the MLB.
All that and more. My name is Darren. That is AJ. And this is the DNA Sports Recap.
Roll the intro.
If you are part of the 95% of our audience that is not subscribed, please consider doing so. Thank you.
How's it going, AJ?
Doing good, man. I'm doing really good. Another exciting week in Jazz basketball. Going good. How about you?
Doing well, man. Doing well. I think, we've been in this room for about 4.5 hours now trying to get things squared away.
That is correct. So YouTube, you're welcome.
Absolutely. For those of you who haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please consider doing so. If this is the type of content you like to watch, you and I spent about 4 hours trying to get things dialed in and an additional couple $100 trying to get this all squared away.
Yep. And
we're here. We're good to go. We're ready to roll for you guys.
Ready to get you guys some new content.
That's right. This is full episode, by the way. This is not one of our special editions.
Yep.
This is our full episode of the podcast. So excited to get back to one of these. Let's go ahead and let's recap the Damian Lillard trade rumors.
Yeah.
That was the last video we put out, by the way. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for the engagement on that video, guys. We got over 44 comments on that video alone, which is second most on our channel. So really appreciate the engagement. Some great trade mentions there, different packages to go with different players, and really appreciate all the engagement. I think that was fantastic. That was awesome.
Yeah, it's been fun. We love commenting with you guys.
But let's go ahead and talk about the updates. So recently it was reported as of just a few hours ago, before we were supposed to be filming, so it's been about 5 hours now. Who knows? Damian Lillard's probably traded by now. But since we last reported, the Jazz are interested in Dame. Reports have came out stating that Dame's agents are in quote-unquote complete control of the situation. This comes directly from the agent, directly from Dame's agent, Goodwin. He says, truthfully, Dame wants to play in Miami, period.
Yeah. I mean, Damian Lillard's the greatest player in Portland Trailblazers history. And he's pretty much got all of the Blazers front office telling other teams that they will only accept the deepest return of assets available. He's kind of in a locking of horns, you could say, because his agent wants him to play for Miami. He obviously wants to play for Miami. At the end of the day, he does not have a no trade clause. He is going to go where the Blazers decide that they can get the best return for him.
Absolutely. Damian has expressed interest in trades with Miami. Miami has been not impressed with the trade package that's been offered so far for Dame. A lot of these trades are centered around Tyler Hero, and Portland has no interest in Tyler Hero. So
yeah,
that seems to be. And again, that report came from the Miami Herald, by the way, about his agent coming out and saying basically it's Dame wants to play in Miami, period. So
yeah, his agent actually went as far to tell other teams not to try to trade for him, or you will be getting a quote unquote unhappy player. So I mean, he's going out of his way to make sure that other teams aren't throwing their name in the hat and throwing out some crazy trade packages, because he's obviously trying to get what he wants for Damian Lillard. There was one report that the Spurs are potentially stepping in to help facilitate a trade, which means they could possibly be absorbing the contracts of Tyler Hero and Jusuf Nurkic.
Okay,
so that could turn into a 3-team kind of deal.
Hero, Nurkic, and Wemby. I don't know.
The Spurs aren't championship contenders, even with Wemby this year.
No.
But they do got to get some salary on their roster so that they can get above that minimum 90%.
Mm-hmm.
Like we talked about in the last episode. Make sure you check that one out.
Absolutely.
But Dame's come out and said he's got no interest in going to the Sixers or the Celtics or the Nets. He wants to play in Miami. So it'll be really interesting to see how this actually plays out. I think the Blazers are going to do what's in the best interest for them. I don't think they care. I think they're trying to kind of keep their relationship with Dame because I mean, chances are they're going to retire that number 0 when his career's done. You know what I mean? Sure. So I think they want to try to keep it, but at the same time, they've got a franchise to build, and they've got some really young talent players on that roster that they're going to look to keep developing. So
I think that's probably the possibility of Utah being involved is maybe somebody as a third team third team involved to kind of trade a couple additional picks to really facilitate something, get some kind of collateral back or some kind of assets back for those. Guaranteed role players now is, I think, worth more to the Jazz than potential first round picks 3 or 4 years down the road. We don't even know what that's going to look like.
Yeah, and the fact is we got plenty of picks down the road.
Yeah, I can see the Jazz being involved in that, but honestly, I agree with you. I just see at this point the only reason why we're hearing about Utah and potential trades, Utah being involved in potential trades for Dame, is Portland's just trying to get Miami to sweeten their deal. I think that's really kind of where that's all coming from. So, yeah. All right. Well, again, appreciate all the engagement on that video, guys. Really appreciate it. That was a lot of fun. Please keep that up, and we'll definitely give you more as it comes for sure. Moving right along, let's go ahead and jump into Jazz Summer League. Let's talk about the Jazz and how they're doing in the Summer League so far. So they're 1-2 with another game tomorrow against the Clippers. So no, Saturday against the Clippers. So,
but that's in Vegas Summer League, right?
Yeah, ESPN2, by the way. So
nice.
That's going to be televised. So it's really exciting to see.
I mean, the Jazz opened up game 1 against Oklahoma City. They ended up losing in that game. They came out and just really didn't shoot the ball very well, especially from 3. They only shot 26% from 3. Oklahoma City kind of torched them. They shot 41% from 3 in that game, which anytime there's that big of a swing in 3-point shooting, it can get out of hand very quickly. Any NBA fan knows that. So Utah's without Johnny Juzang in this game. He doesn't play. He's got an injury. He ends up coming back the next game to play against the Sixers. But Juzang's, he was drafted last year's draft class out of UCLA. And I went to a couple Stars games and watched him because he was on a 2-way contract. And he's a fun player to watch, man. Pretty athletic, shoots it pretty well. Pretty good decision maker. Lacks a little bit of defensive presence, but he's a pretty fun player to watch. And you could tell the Jazz missed him in that OKC game.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, I will have to say the one thing that stood out to me in game 1 is just how Ochai Agbaji looks like a man among boys, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 17 points, shot 3 for 8 from 3-point land, and 7 defensive rebounds. I mean, 9 total. He was out there playing, dude.
Yeah.
And he looked, like you said, man amongst boys. Ochai does need some more reps. He played at the end of last season, but he needs to get some of those reps with NBA talent players on the floor. You're going to see some of that in Summer League. Not, a lot of these guys are just trying to make end of roster spots and stuff like that. But anytime Ochai can get on the floor and run 5-on-5 is going to help his progression, and we're going to see him develop.
The final 23 games of last season, he averaged 13.7 points per game, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists, with 20 of those games being starts.
Pretty impressive. And he really stepped it up on the defensive end of the floor. I mean, we obviously, got the pleasure of watching Royce O'Neal play some defense for a couple seasons there. I'd
say a season and a half.
But I mean, but great defense for some of those seasons. Guarding top 5 players at every single position every time they were out there. But Ochai played some tough defense on some tough players at the end of those seasons and at the end of last season, and it was fun to watch, man. He's super aggressive. He's athletic. He's cut some weight over the summer. He looks even better than he did before. I mean, we haven't even got into the 76ers game where he comes out and lights it up. So.
What I liked about Jay, what you learned in game 1 is the same. It's got Team 49 written all over it. These guys were down by 27 points and cut it to within 8 in the fourth quarter, keeping that same mentality of not willing to give up, even though it's a summer league game, dude. You got nothing to lose,
and everyone's out there just hustling
Everybody's
hustling their butts off,
playing like a team too, and you don't really see that in this kind of level of basketball.
Yeah.
So. I think that's one of the big takeaways from that game is that, the heart, the hustle, Team 49 vibe is still there.
Yep. The OKC game was a tough one to kind of see them lose because, like I said, they'd kind of looked like they were making a comeback. And then they play against the 76ers and they come out kind of firing, man. They get off to a pretty hot start, go up like 10-3 or something like that, and then, kind of fall off a little bit on defense. Obviously end up losing the game. Keontae George was, played in both these games. It's funny we haven't even mentioned him yet because he had fantastic games in both of these. He played 25 minutes against the Sixers, went 3 for 5 from 3, scored 14 points. But I think the player that impressed me most in the 76ers game was Luka Samanic, dude. The dude can ball. And if you watched it, chime in, leave a comment. I want to know what your guys' thoughts are, but it gets me excited to watch this guy. I do think he will end up making the Jazz roster. I think he's actually currently signed to a contract through the end of this year, and then he's got some partially guaranteed money next year.
Isn't it 2A?
So, no, Luka Samanic is actually on the roster.
Okay.
Yeah, so unless obviously they waive him or something like that, but he's actually on a contract with the Jazz.
Yeah, he left last night's game 19 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 assists. That's an insane stat line.
That is an insane stat line, dude. And he shoots the ball really well for being a 6'10" big dude. Has a good stroke.
It's a shame we don't have a lot of room for those guys right now.
I mean, and that's kind of the issue is I think he's going to kind of get stuck, on the tail end of a bench just because 6'10" three shooting guys, for some reason, all of a sudden the Jazz have a ton of them. In the beginning of that game against the Sixers, he showed some really good defensive awareness. He was switching really well, good ball pressure. As the fourth quarter comes, you can see he's getting a little bit gassed. I don't know how much 5-on-5 he's played over the summer, but he kind of struggled to contest some shots. He was kind of lazy chasing down, and really, really exciting player to watch. If you haven't watched any of the summer league and you're tuning in, Luka Samanic is the guy to keep your eye on.
Very nice. Yeah, we definitely will. Let's go ahead and talk about Keontae George for a little bit. Keontae George showed a lot of quickness over the last two games that people didn't really see when he was playing in college.
Yeah.
A big part of that is he's down 25 pounds. When he was in college, he was tipping the scales at 205, and now he's playing at a weight of 180.
Wow.
So he's dropped 25 pounds.
Yeah.
He's been very, very quick, very light on his feet, and you can definitely see how that's changing. He's easily one of the fastest guys on the court right now.
And I wasn't aware that he could really get up and dunk the ball like he could. Have you seen some? I mean, dude can get up and throw the ball down, man. It is impressive.
He dropped 25 pounds that are bringing you down. That's a lot. You can get up there for sure.
Gravity, man.
Yeah. So he's definitely leaned out a little bit. I mean, not that he had like extra weight, but as far as his muscle tone, he's kind of leaned out a little bit more. Hopefully that bodes well for him.
Yeah, no, I mean, his biggest thing to get on the floor is he's got to be able to play defense, and cutting that weight is going to help him stay in front of NBA talent point guards. Like previously mentioned, Damian Lillard, Steph Curry, some of these elite talent. If you're just going to be a rotating door and they're just going to get past you, you're just not going to earn time on this Jazz roster.
Yeah. Well, it's a good thing Luka was there because Keontae and Obaji weren't necessarily the most efficient in game two. I mean,
correct.
I believe Keontae was 5 for 10 from downtown, if I remember correctly.
Keontae George was 3 for 5 from downtown.
3 for 5.
Yep.
Right.
5 for 10 was his overall shooting, though.
Yeah, 5 for 10.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So he was at 500, but definitely not Ochai Agbaji. I think he was somewhere in like the 30% range.
Yeah.
36.
Agbaji went 4 for 8 from 3. 5 or 6 for 17 overall shooting. So, I mean, not a super efficient night. Minus 7 on the plus -, but he had 18 points.
Yeah, the 50. I think the 50% from 3 though that's promising. From Agbaji for sure.
And realistically, you want Agbaji taking 8 threes in this game. You want him to get those catch and shoot reps because those are the only ones he's going to get in an NBA game.
Yeah,
he's not going to get a ton of dribble up, and that's some of the issue with playing in some of these summer league games is you're not going to have the closeout speed you're going to see in an NBA game. But, just him taking some of these shots and getting the feel for that NBA distance is going to help Ochai for sure.
And it was mentioned on the by the coaches there in one of the post games is that they're really looking in Ochai Agbaji as being the first offensive option to really find out what, like you mentioned before, get those reps, those 5-on-5 reps, and see what they have. He was number 14, the pick of the draft last year.
Yeah.
They want to make sure they want to know what they have, with this guy. Speaking of high picks in the draft, I would also like to point out that while we know what we have in Keontae, and we were seeing what we're getting out of Keontae, we're seeing what we have out of Ochai Agbaji. We have 2 draft picks we have not seen touch the court yet. Due to injury/illness. Now, is that the case, or do you think this is more like, we want to play in Utah Summer League, we want to save ourselves for Vegas Summer League?
No, I think it's probably just the Jazz playing extra safe. I think Bryce Sensabaugh, that was some of the reason he fell in that draft was he had some lingering injury issues. So I'm sure they're probably just making sure they're 100%. The NBA training staff's on them. I think it's just the Jazz playing it safe, to be honest with you. I mean, I think you'll see Taylor Hendricks play once they get down to Vegas. And if Bryce Sensabaugh is healthy, I'm sure you'll see him on the court as well. They're both just on day-to-day. So
Keontae was actually, he was in the game. He was there was reports that he might have been injured.
Yeah, he left the game early with an ankle injury, but he ended up coming. Obviously played tonight, so he's going to be all right.
He was 2 from 11 from the field.
Ouch.
An 18% rate, 1 from 8 from 3. Had 15 points. Was a +/-23. He had 6 defensive rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, only 1 turnover, 15 points. Yeah, so I don't know how he had a +23 ±, but he did. He was that's less than 20% from the field. So not the best for Keontae there. Ochai Agbaji was shooting 40%. He was 8 from 20. 5 from 13 from 3. So he put up 13 threes, man. So he definitely got it there. Close to 40% though.
Yeah.
So that's good to see. Keontae George was 10 for 10 from the free throw line, so that's probably where that plus minus is coming from. Ochai Agbaji had 1 block, 4 turnovers, and 4 assists and 13 rebounds. Wow. That kid could fit up a stat sheet, man.
Yeah,
Holy cow.
real quick too.
Wow, that's impressive. We got Luka. He fished 2 for 4, so he only took 4 attempts, so 50% from the field. No, he got 8 points, 9 on the plus minus. Looks like the top scorer of the game was Ochai Agbaji, who had 22 points, and then we also had Johnny Juzang, yeah, 15 points as well. Man, it's plus minus, man, weird. Because
it's really hard to see in some of these games, dude. Because I mean,
23 plus
have,
minus, like
you'll have players come out that are they're not really helping or hurting anything, and it'll just any player that has the ball in their hands is going to affect their plus minus just drastically. So
2 for 11,
some of these summer league
1
games,
8.
it's hard to tell.
So basically, he took 3 shots that weren't threes. Keontae George, all of his free throws. So basically, where his plus minus came from. So not the best showing, but hey, it looks like kind of a team effort. Everybody pulled together to get what they needed to get the win here for sure. On the Jazz Summer League here, you looking forward to?
I am
Vegas?
looking forward to Vegas for sure. Like I said, I'm really hoping to see Taylor Hendricks get on the floor, Bryce Sensabaugh, and just kind of see what some of these Jazz rookies have, get some 5-on-5 minutes underneath them, and hopefully the Jazz have a strong showing down there. It'd be really cool for them to win like a summer league title. Just cool for the players that are on the roster. It doesn't mean anything, but
I would really prefer that everybody comes out of this healthy. I would prefer no wins. Everybody comes out healthy, and we have a good idea of who's going to be making who's getting a roster spot and who's not out of camp.
Yeah.
That's basically what I want to see out of Summer League.
That's going to happen for sure.
I do want to talk a little bit more about the Utah Jazz, and this could be something we put in a separate video. Let's go ahead and talk for a second about the Jazz's nostalgia play. This is something I want to talk about for weeks that we really haven't gotten to.
Yeah, no.
They opened up the Summer League. The building is now renamed the Delta Center, right? Yep. This came out a couple months ago that they were going to be doing that. But they also just did something recently that is very much also a nostalgia play, and that is announcing they're going to be broadcasting all Jazz games on KJZZ TV again. For those of you who are in our audience that are around our age or are a little bit older, you remember the time where Jeopardy was over, and then boom, you had Hot Rod Hundley and Ron Boone broadcasting Jazz games. You always knew exactly when the Jazz game was, what channel was going to be on, so
you could always get it.
Yeah.
I mean, I absolutely love this, dude. Ryan Smith as an owner has done such a good job to try to get Jazz basketball in front of any single Jazz fan, and to bring back the Delta Center and even the 1980s purple jerseys that, they're going to be their classic jerseys this year. I think it's fantastic for the organization. I think that it's going to continue to drive some of those older Jazz fans back to the team that may not have been watching so much the last couple of years. They don't know any of the names, but you see some of the things you start remembering, and I think it's going to help kind of pump up this season and bring some more energy into I almost called it Vivint, and back into the Delta Center.
Absolutely.
And I think it's going to be really good for the team this year.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Also exclusive streaming rights are going to be coming out on their own publication company somewhere.
Which is awesome.
If you're not in Utah and you can't get KJZZ, that's going to also be an option. Obviously, there's the NBA League Pass in that case, but you're going to be able to have access to it exclusively. So, I think that's going to be pretty cool. You're probably going to see it around less than $20 because that's basically what the NBA League Pass breaks down to. Yeah. So it'll probably be less than $20 a month to stream Jazz games. So I think that's pretty awesome. I do want to point out a big piece about this, though, that I think that is not getting talked to enough about. Ryan Smith sidestepped probably tens of millions of dollars by doing this.
Oh, yeah.
This KJZZ thing, putting it back on the KJZZ on a local TV network, that's
it just shows you he's not about the money. He's about, Ryan Smith is a all the way to the bone Jazz fan. That was the reason he bought the franchise. He was at Jazz games before when it was, he was sponsoring him when he owned Qualtrics. He is a through and through Jazz fan. I think he's doing things that a Jazz fan would just love to see. He started the Smith Entertainment Group that's going to, carry the Jazz broadcasting and that kind of stuff. So it is so refreshing to see an NBA owner make decisions that are actually good for Jazz fans rather than what's good for their wallet.
He's making he's not the only owner, he's a majority owner, and he just, that play, to do that is huge. He sidestepped, like I said, tens of millions of dollars just to simply make sure every Jazz fan in the state gets to watch games. Yeah. I think the stat was less than 40% of Jazz fans got to watch games over the last couple of years. So,
and pretty cool that all of his partners just kind of are letting him kind of take this thing and run with it. Like you said, he's just a majority owner, but obviously there's the people that got their hands in the pot, as far as money wise. And I think it's pretty awesome that they're just kind of letting him take this franchise and do what he thinks to make it successful.
Yeah. You got Dwayne Wade, the Miller Group are still minority owners as well.
Yep.
So they've really been pushing that nostalgia button for a little bit. I thought simply because they were expecting the team to be really bad again this year. So they're doing everything they can to get some seeds.
I don't think they're going to be really bad this year.
The roster, man, I just they're going to do. Honestly, I think they're going to have a better record this year than they did last.
I agree. I think they're sniffing playoffs this year for sure.
Yeah, I think they're going to hit the play-in tournament bare minimum.
Mm-hmm.
Let's also take one more second here to recap one other thing here that I did want to mention. Our good old friend, the X-Man, the X-Factor, Dante Exum.
Yeah.
X going to give it to you as he comes into the play. I think when he got the start. Loved that. Yeah, he signed a contract in the NBA this year.
Yep, Dallas Mavericks, man, with Dennis Lindsey. I love Dante, man. I actually still remember where I was when the Jazz drafted Dante Exum. When he fell to him, I was so excited, dude.
Yeah.
I was in a truck driving back from a job in Wyoming, and I'll tell you what, I was pumped. And I still remember, I wish he could have stayed healthy and, things would have worked out a little bit more, but I'm super excited. Dante, if you ever do watch this, we love you, brother.
Absolutely, man. Glad to see you're back in the NBA, playing healthy, and here's to a long, healthy career for the rest of the NBA, man.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to it. All right, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
All right, so first let's go ahead and talk about something that happened a couple weeks ago in the Major League Baseball. Domingo German throws the first perfect game since 2012, number 24 in history. It was in Oakland on June 28th.
That's insane, dude. Baseball fans, you understand what a perfect game is, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
No hits, no walks, no errors.
You know how many no-hitters there are that would have been perfect games if it wasn't for like a throwing error?
Yeah.
Like Clayton Kershaw has a no-hitter, but it should have been a perfect game because Henley Ramirez throwing error. Like that happens so often that a perfect game gets blown because of an error. The fact that he still got his perfect game, again, first one since 2012, actually by Seattle, King Felix Hernandez out in Seattle. Through the last perfect game in 2012. So
crazy.
Yeah. Fitting that the All-Star game's out there this year.
So there's a lot going on with this though. Like I was kind of reading that. This is kind of a controversial perfect game, right?
Yes, and not for the good reasons.
No.
Usually when something's controversial, it's usually like a play that umpire went and didn't get overturned. So you're thinking it's controversial, but Yankees have got a bit of a problem. This is not a one-off thing for them. Are you aware of their pitching history when it comes to guys like this?
I am not actually.
Okay, let's take a little journey, shall we? Let's start with Aroldis Chapman. Do you know who he is?
Mm-hmm.
So he's currently pitching for the Texas Rangers. He was waived by the Kansas City Royals and picked up by the Texas Rangers. He was originally playing for the Reds. The Dodgers traded for him. He strangled his girlfriend and then fired a gun 9 times into his garage. And so the Dodgers walked away from him and said, "Okay, no, thank you."
Yeah.
But guess who jumped in line to trade for the guy?
Yankees.
The Yankees. So after serving a 30-game suspension for that domestic violence issue there, he is playing for the Yankees. And then you have Domingo German, who smacked his girlfriend at a charity event for the Yankees and was suspended 81 games.
Yeah, that was the longest suspension ever issued under the league's domestic violence policy.
At the time.
Correct.
Yes, because we now know who has that record now. Trevor Bauer.
He's still going there.
Yeah. Well, his suspension.
He's still there. Yeah.
His suspension's gone, but definitely hasn't been back to the league since. But yeah, Domingo German definitely has the worst. 81 game suspension for him. Let me introduce you to Jimmy Cordero, the latest. He is a relief pitcher for the New York Yankees, and he was just suspended for the rest of the season and any postseason games for violating the MLB's domestic violence, sexual assault, or child abuse policy.
Wow.
So, yeah, the Yankees have a bit of a problem with finding people who aren't just not bad pitchers, just bad dudes, period. I don't understand what this is. I don't know what the Yankees are into.
Yeah,
that's
pretty sketchy.
That's 3 players in 5 years, all pitchers, all suspended for.
Well, not to mention, like Domingo German just got off a 10-game suspension this year for a sticky substance.
That's true. Yeah.
So, and like the umpire was noted saying that was the stickiest hand I'd ever seen. Wow.
Yeah. That's
that cost him 10 games right there. Like,
Yeah, without pay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, he did serve his time, did serve his suspension, and he's back in the major league. And yes, do you want the first perfect game since 2012, since King Felix threw it, to be somebody who didn't just recently come off of a suspension for domestic violence? Absolutely. No, this is not the guy you wanted to have win it. But that does not degrade the accomplishment, I don't think.
No.
My
opinion is no matter all of the questionable things or bad things that he's done, he's kind of winning this one, because from here on out, the first item that's going to be mentioned when you mention his name is he threw a perfect game in 2023, man. That's going to be the new tag right next to his name. So
yeah, you hope so. And you hope that he's gotten, with the 81 games suspension, he got all the necessary, counseling and everything you need to do to understand. You do definitely don't want it to be that kind of scenario, but honestly, I don't know. I have a hard time in hearing all that bad, all the controversy, like, you take it away from him, he shouldn't deserve a perfect game, should never pitch again. There's a lot, there may be something to that, yes, but he served his suspension. He did everything that the team required him to do off the field in order to return to baseball. You got a chance to throw a perfect game, so you got to at least give him that.
Pretty impressive, man.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, 24 in MLB history.
Yeah.
24 times is it.
Yeah, should have been 25. We'll talk about that later. Good for Domingo German. I hope he keeps his nose clean for the rest of his career, and then the suspension will just be a footnote, and this perfect game will be something that holds on legacy. It's really up to him to decide that. So we'll see.
Absolutely. To go a little bit further past perfect game.
Okay.
I did have some info. I just kind of some fun stories that I found while I was researching perfect games. I wasn't aware that this season, Johan Oviedo of the Pirates, he had an immaculate inning.
Nice.
So for you baseball fans that don't know, that is 9 pitches for 3 outs.
Yep. 9 pitches, 9 strikes.
There's only been 112 immaculate innings in 132 years of MLB history. Less than 1 immaculate inning per season. Yeah, he just did that April 24th, 2023. So that was pretty cool. And then as I'm digging down this rabbit hole to find out, cool, perfect games, in May 13th, 1952, Ron Nichai threw a 27 strikeout no-hitter at 19 years old. He was playing for a Class D, the Bristol Twins at the time.
Okay.
He was the only pitcher to ever do so in a 9-inning professional level game.
Wow.
That's pretty cool. I mean, I just thought it was kind of a fun fact, man. Like, it's the only time it's ever happened. 27 strikeouts.
You ever see the Brendan Fraser movie, The Rookie? Yeah, that's what that reminds me of.
Yeah.
27 batters up, 27 down, 90-something pitches, all of them strikes.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's very cool.
Yeah,
I
thought it was kind of cool.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and move on. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Angels baseball. All right. So it's a team we don't get to talk about a lot because, well, honestly, they're not really that good, but which is baffling to me because they have 2 of the, no one talks about the Anaheim Angels. I don't call them the LA Angels because you're in Anaheim. Call yourself the Anaheim Angels, California Angels. As a Dodgers fan, you don't get to call yourself the Los Angeles Angels. Okay, just stop. You don't have
cut it out.
You don't have Disneyland claiming to be from LA.
Yeah,
come see us in LA at Disneyland. Now you're in Anaheim. Just chill. So moving right along here, let's go ahead and talk a little about what's happening now. They start the season off hot. They owned first place for a little bit there until Rangers kind of took off. But they actually have fallen back down to earth. I believe they're 3rd or 4th place in their division right now, behind the Rangers and Houston, right?
Yeah, I mean, as of now, they've lost 6 of their last 7 games, and they're 4 games out of the final wild card position in the American League.
Oh, so they're doing much better than they normally are.
Yeah, much better, but
no, that's still pretty bad.
Still not on a great run right now.
3rd place in their division, Seattle and Oakland. Honestly, not having a good year. Actually, I'm surprised Seattle's not doing as well. They have a good team. They should be playing better, but not nearly as bad. I mean, you look at this. You got to look at this lineup for the Angels here. You have Anthony Rendon, Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani. These are
big names.
That's a big 1 through 3.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you would expect them to be someone in the mix, but no, here we are again. Like you mentioned, 4 games out of the last wild card spot.
Yeah, the big reason this is a discussion is they're totally battling some injuries. Mike Trout, he's currently out with a wrist injury, could be several weeks. Shohei Ohtani just left a game. He's got a fingernail blister problem on his pitching hand, and then Anthony Rendon ends up fouling a ball off his foot. So they're really struggling to stay healthy. And it's really tough to make a push back into the playoffs when you're missing not only 3 of the best players on your team, but 3 of the best players in the league, right? Like,
Yeah.
these are big time guys.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily consider Anthony Rendon really one of the best players anymore, but
right.
I definitely get your point there for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Shohei Ohtani.
While we're talking about him, did you see that Soto from the Padres was in the media saying that they were going to blast Ohtani in the game against him?
What?
Yeah. Soto was in the media saying that they were going to give Ohtani problems when he was pitching against the Padres in the game coming up. And they actually didn't do terrible. He obviously ends up coming out with an injury anyway.
Yeah, I did get kind of rocked a little
bit.
But
Soto himself goes 0 for 4 against Ohtani.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect for the Padres, man. Like, that's just, again, on paper, they are the most talented and they most talented team in the National League.
Yeah.
Well, next to the Mets on paper, but their 1 through 4 is insane. You have Rafael Devers, you have Fernando Tatis Jr., you have Juan Soto. You have these great players, and you still are 4th place in your division.
Just struggling to put it together, man.
And you have a great pitching staff. You have Blake Snell. You have Yu Darvish, Cronenworth. You have these great pitchers, and you can't seem to get it together. You have a 1 through 3 that any team in the Major League Baseball would love to have as far as a starting rotation.
Yeah.
Your 1 through 4 in your lineup is better than most teams can even dream of, and you can't even sniff. Like, you're not even in the playoff discussion right now. At least I don't think they are. I'm
struggling to put it together, man.
But yeah, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Shohei Ohtani. Actually, before we talk about Shohei Ohtani, let's talk about Aaron Judge. Yeah, so Aaron Judge broke the American League home run record by hitting 62 home runs. So he beat Roger Maris's record, which a lot of people, me including, consider that to be the real home run record.
Right.
Reason why we're talking about Aaron Judge is go back to Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani is on pace to beat his record this year.
No way.
He's actually leading Major League Baseball right now in strikeouts with 132 strikeouts for the season so far.
That's insane, dude.
He's also leading in home runs.
Has that ever happened before?
Once.
Babe Ruth?
Yes. And he only did it for 1 season. Shohei Ohtani's been doing it for about 3 seasons now, 3 healthy seasons.
Yeah.
He's ahead of Aaron Judge. So as long as this injury doesn't take up a significant amount of time this season, we could see someone break the home run record back to back. And this time being a player who also is currently leading the Major League Baseball in strikeouts and also a potential Cy Young candidate at the same time.
Can I ask you, do you think Shohei Ohtani is the most talented professional athlete on the planet right now?
Yes.
Solid.
Yes. I don't think there's an argument against that.
I think it'd be crazy to say that he's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of athletes that are good at one thing or 2 things or good at one sport. This is a guy who is proficient at 2 of the hardest things in professional sports, pitching and hitting.
Yeah.
So
you usually got one or the other.
Yeah. And here's a guy who did it well in Japan professionally for, years. Now he's doing it in the Major League Baseball against the best players in the world.
And still dominating.
Blows my mind. Easily going to be the first $500 million. I think the starting number for him next year in free agency is $500 million.
Just crazy.
That's for 10 years. It's
right.
Not even for 12 years.
Right.
Some of these guys got like $375 million for 13 years. This one's going to be $500 million for 10. So, yeah. Anyway, I just thought that was insane that he's on that great a pace. And that's what also makes the whole thing with the Angels so sad is you have the 2 most marketable players in baseball right now, Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani on your team. And you can't even you got the 2 best players on your team and you just can't seem to put together a winning season.
Remember when Shohei Ohtani struck out Mike Trout?
Yes,
close out the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah. Did you hear the interview with Mike Trout about that?
I think I saw something. He was just like, I thought it was going to be a fastball.
Yeah. So I was thinking one thing and one thing only. I'm taking him deep. He's like, that's what I'm doing. He's like, He's like, I was walking out of the I was one thing only. I'm taking him deep.
I've never seen him before, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think that's fantastic. And again, we've talked about nauseam about the World Baseball Classic and how we basically Team USA played with one hand tied behind their back the whole time.
Yeah. Previous video, make sure you check that one out too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just while we're talking about it, make sure if you are still watching, hit that subscribe button. Keep commenting. We love interacting with you guys still.
Yeah, absolutely. Really much appreciate it. But yeah, Shohei Ohtani just had some blister issues, so hopefully he won't be out for too long. And hopefully we'll get to see him in the All-Star game, at least to take a bat or two. So we'll see.
Oh, absolutely.
All right. Well, once again, folks, just like AJ mentioned there, if you're watching this on YouTube, keep in mind this is available as a podcast. You can find it wherever you find your podcasts. It's also going to be on our YouTube channel underneath playlists, and it'll be labeled as podcasts.
Yep. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like it, share it. If you know anybody that might even be interested in this content, make sure you hit that subscribe button and keep commenting. Really, we've said it a few times, but we love interacting with you guys. All your comments and opinions are awesome. It's a ton of fun for us. So
yeah, absolutely. Keep it coming. And again, really appreciate it, guys. In the last 3 weeks, you guys have tripled our subscriber count. So keep that going. We really appreciate it.
It's been fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, folks, my name is Darren. That is AJ, and this has been the DNA Sports Recap.
Till next time.